the real estate investing or finance world. And today's an interesting one because I think we're seeing clearly, in quotes from the Fed, that there's internal strife in the Fed where some folks felt that July rate cut wasn't needed, and what this clearly tells me is that the Fed and the market, if you will, are looking at the data and seeing different answers, and that's probably both interesting and concerning. You would like them to see the world the same way, given the downside risk if one or the other is wrong. And again, this quote came from Esther George. I believe she's the Kansas City Fed representative. And again, she just clearly said the July rate cuts not needed. You've had Powell come out a few days this week and say, hey, that was not a sign of more to come. So you really do have the Fed clearly saying kind of one and done. That was for reassurance. And then you have the market on 2 different days over 2 weeks, inverting the yield curve. So, the fact is, I think it's pretty clear that the market, and by the market I mean the I don't know if you want to call it smart money or, the large share of the money out there sees one thing, right? Probably sees the consumer slowing, certainly sees manufacturing slowing, and the Fed's like, nope, we disagree. We see lending good, lending getting easier. Right, so there are these balancing acts. So a couple of things that caught my attention that sort of goes one way or the other. One was the weekly jobless claims. The headline says, weekly jobless claims fell sharply from last week. And again, any week on week is not really interesting to me. But what was interesting in the article, they talked about July on July, which was what the data set was for. And we're lower now than we were last July, which just shows that, in theory, the job market is stronger today than 12 months ago. And I'm not sure I would have believed that, given, what was going on last summer versus this summer. It actually shocked me. But never forget with unemployment that there are, this whole, entrepreneurs doing their own thing and all of that are not really captured, right? Because they're not looking for jobs. So this whole gig economy could be skewing the data set that the employment numbers use, and I don't know if that's true, but it just shocks me that this July was lower than last July, and that was interesting to me. The other one is it's pretty. So that one tells me that the market is strong and the Fed is right. That's what it kind of says. But then if you go over and look at U.S. manufacturing, it is weak. Now they blame tariffs, obviously, right? You have less buyers of goods, hence less manufacturing of stuff. But it's very clear that the U.S. consumer is the thing that's holding this all together. And we need to see, because as consumers, we're fickle. We could have our credit cards out one day, and then the next day we could be sitting on them because we're nervous or concerned. So this is all about trying to predict or get an understanding of the U.S. consumer, right? We're a consumer-based economy. And again, that's one of the things I try to watch because, again, how this affects real estate, right? Real estate is 100% a confidence business. You need to be confident to sign up for a 15 or a 30-year mortgage, right? You're not going to go into that going, wow, I could lose my job tomorrow. That's not generally what people do. So I am watching the consumer. I'm trying to figure out, what's the trend? Are they getting more positive or more negative? And it's hard to say, right? You have unemployment numbers saying one thing, you have U.S. manufacturing saying another, and it's just tough. That's why you need to look at this all the time. So those are the things I'm looking at. Other things that caught my attention today, I did note that Volkswagen wants to buy a stake in Tesla. I thought that was interesting. And I might be wrong, but wasn't Volkswagen the one that had some problems with diesel, kind of manipulating some chip sensor or something and faking miles per gallon? I thought to see that they could potentially get a stake in Tesla, I thought was interesting, right? The fact that Tesla is worth $30 billion, I thought that was, at least that was the current market valuation, was pretty high. So I thought that was interesting. And then the other one about the G7 summit, I think it was happening in France. the fact that they're already calling that might be a failure or whatnot is interesting because one of the things we seem to not be at least looking at right now is a lot of the past wars, if you will, happened because countries started insulating themselves and trying to, not work in a global fashion. And I don't know if we're going that direction or not, but it certainly seems there's more friction in the system, and you have to look no further than the trade war to see that. And again, not passing judgment one way or the other. It's just, if the largest 7 countries can't come together for breaking some bread and talking about what's important, that might be a sign of we need to go back and remember who we are and go back and start those conversations again. So that's what I saw today. The biggest news of the day is it's clear that the Fed and the market, if you will, are on different sides of whether or not the economy is slowing. I am seeing more and more people for the first time indicate that they think we could be in the start of the recession, which I've said before, meaning this would be the first quarter of negative growth. So that could be interesting. This all hinges on the consumer, right? And again, the trade war could be over tomorrow. All these tariffs gone, and maybe manufacturing picks back up. Lending is getting cheaper, so that could spark more borrowing, and it's just an interesting time. It's why you got to look. Why you got to look every day, and you got to figure out what it means to you, and what are you going to do with your long-term bet. So at the end of the day, I hope that helps. Let me know what you think. As always, if you see articles I should look at, leave them in comments. If you think I got something wrong, tell me. I'm all about learning as well. So have a great day, everyone. Take care.